Bedsit.
Bedsit.
Bedsore.
Bedsore.
Bedspread.
Bedspread.
Bedstead.
Bedstead.
Bedtime.
Bedtime.
It's way past your bedtime.
A bedtime story.
Bedu.
Bedu.
Bedwetting.
Bedwetting.
Bee.
Bee. A swarm of bees.
A bee sting. Dad's got a bee in his bonnet about saving electricity.
She thought the party was just the bee's knees.
Beeb. Beeb.
Beach.
Beach.
Beef.
Beef.
Roast beef. We have both dairy and beef cattle on the farm.
OK, so what's the beef this time?
We have both dairy and beef cattle on the farm.
They're always beefing about something.
A beefed-up news story.
We need to beef the campaign up.
Beef burger.
Beef burger.
Beefcake.
Beefcake.
Beef eater.
Beef eater.
Beefsteak.
Beefsteak.
Beef tea. Beef tea.
Beefy.
Beefy.
Beehive.
Beehive.
Beekeeper.
Beekeeper.
Beeline.
Beeline.
Rob always makes a beeline for beautiful women.
Bean.
Bin.
I've never been to Japan. Have you been to see the Van Gogh exhibition yet?
The postman hasn't been yet.
Beep.
Beep.
Why does the computer keep beeping? Leave your message after the beep.
Beeper.
Beeper.
Beer.
Beer.
A pint of beer.
We sell draft beer.
A pint of beer. Do you fancy a beer?
His beery breath.
Beer belly.
Beer belly.
Beard up. Beard up.
Beer mat.
Beer mat.
Beer money.
Beer money.
The job was never going to make me rich, but it kept me in beer money for a while.
Beeswax.
Beeswax.
Beat.
Beat.
Beetle.
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 He went beetling off down the corridor.
Beetroot.
Beetroot.
Befall.
Befall.
We prayed that no harm should befall them.
Befit.
Befit.
As befits a castle of such national importance, there are many stories connected with its history. As befits a castle of such national importance, there are many stories connected with its history.
Before.
Before.
Say goodbye before you go.
I saw her a few days before she died.
Put that money somewhere safe before it gets stolen.
That dog ought to be destroyed before it attacks any more children.
Before I could say anything more, Holmes had rushed off towards the station.
It was several minutes before we realised what was happening.
It will be a while before we know the results.
You have to pass a test before you can get a license.
Get out before I call the police.
She would die before she would admit she was wrong.
The new road should be completed before the end of the year. The new road should be completed before the end of the year. Let's meet at our house before the show. Larry arrived home before me. Hugh arrived just 5 minutes before the ceremony.
I usually take a shower before having my breakfast.
We only got back from Scotland the day before yesterday.
Other students joined in the protest, and before long there was a crowd of 200 or so.
You were before me in the queue. The files are in alphabetical order, so B1 comes before C1.
Italy will face Brazil this afternoon before a crowd of 100,000 spectators.
An actor who had performed before the Queen.
The proposal was put before the planning committee.
I put my wife and kids before anyone else.
In the air transport business, safety must always come before profit. The priest stood before the altar.
The sea stretched out before them.
The pub is 100 metres before the church, on the right.
The last station before the Simplon tunnel.
The task of emptying the house lay before us.
We had a glorious summer afternoon before us to do as we pleased.
You have your whole life before you.
Haven't I met you before somewhere?
Never before had he seen so many people starving.
She looked just the same as before.
She was in Paris last week and in Rome the week before.
The King's Herald walked before.
Beforehand.
Beforehand.
The police need to be briefed beforehand on how to deal with this sort of situation.
When you give a speech, it's natural to feel nervous beforehand.
Befriend.
Befriend.
They befriended me when I first arrived in London as a student.
Befuddled.
Befuddled.
Even in my befuddled state, I could find my key. Beg.
Beg.
She begged and pleaded with them until they finally agreed.
She fought back the sudden urge to run to him and beg his forgiveness.
The children begged to come with us. I begged Helen to stay, but she wouldn't listen.
She ran to the nearest house and begged for help. We could hear the prisoners begging for mercy.
Listen, I beg of you.
A ragged child begging from passing shoppers. The old man went from door to door begging for food.
A begging letter.
The meeting's on Wednesday. I beg your pardon? I said the meeting's on Wednesday.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I thought you said 15 pence, not 50.
Chicago's an awful place. I beg your pardon, that's where I'm from. I must beg to differ on this point.
This proposal begs the question of who is going to pay for the new building.
There's a beer going begging if anyone's interested.
She'd beg, borrow, or steal the money for those shoes.
Began.
Began. Beget.
Beget.
Hunger begets crime.
Beggar. Beggar.
The beggars on the streets.
How's Dave? The lucky beggars in the south of France.
They showed a lack of common sense that beggars belief. Why should he beggar himself for you? They showed a lack of common sense that beggars belief. Why should he beggar himself for you?
Beggarly.
Beggarly.
Beggary.
Beggary.
Begging bowl.
Begging bowl.
Arts and theatre groups are constantly thrusting the begging bowl at the government.
Begin.
Begin.
As everybody's here, let's begin.
In the third year, students begin the study of classical Chinese.
The President begins talks with the Prime Minister tonight.
She began to feel a sense of panic. I began teaching in 1984.
It was the coldest winter since records began.
The meeting begins at 10:30 a.m.
Shall we begin with a prayer?
I'll begin by thanking you all for being here tonight.
Psychosis begins with a P.
Ladies and gentlemen, he began, I am delighted to be here.
Well, to begin with, he shouldn't even have been driving my car. I didn't break it. It was like that to begin with.
The kids helped me to begin with, but they soon got bored.
I can't begin to imagine how awful it was. Roger began his career as an office boy.
Beginner.
Beginner.
An absolute beginner.
Beginning.
Beginning.
She's been here since the beginning of the year.
There's a short poem at the beginning of every chapter.
From the beginning of my career as a journalist, I've been writing about gender issues.
I thought he loved me. Perhaps he did in the beginning.
That chance meeting marked the beginning of a long and happy relationship. That chance meeting marked the beginning of a long and happy relationship.
This is just the beginning of a new and different life for you.
I said he would cause trouble right from the beginning.
I opposed it from the very beginning.
The whole trip was a disaster from beginning to end. I feel like I've been offered a new beginning.
Could we start at the beginning? Tell me where you first met him.
I think I have the beginnings of a cold.
He rose from humble beginnings to great wealth. Begone.
Begone.
Begonia.
Begonia.
Begot.
Begot.
Begotten.
Begotten.
Begrudge.
Begrudge.
We shouldn't begrudge her this success.
The farmer's wife never begrudged him a meal at the end of the day.
I begrudge spending so much money on train fares.
Beguile.
Beguile.
She was beguiled by his smooth talk.
He was beguiled into buying another copy of her book.
Beguiling.
Beguiling.
A beguiling smile.
Begum.
Begum.
Begun.
Begun.
Behalf.
Behalf.
She asked the doctor to speak to her parents on her behalf. On behalf of everyone here, may I wish you a very happy retirement. Oh, don't go to any trouble on my behalf.
Behave.
Behave.
She behaved in a very responsible way.
I think he behaved disgracefully towards you.
Grown men behaving like schoolboys.
He was a little boy, but he behaved as if he was an adult.
Will you children please behave?
I hope Nicholas behaved himself at the party.
A badly behaved class.
Quantum mechanics is the study of the way atoms behave.
Behavior.
Behavior.
It is important to reward good behavior.
She complained of her boss's inappropriate behavior towards her.
The effects of alcohol on human behavior. I want you both to be on your best behavior at Grandad's.
The behavior of human chromosomes.
Behavioral science.
Behaviorism.
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 Behead.
Behead.
Charles I was beheaded in 1649.
Beheld.
Beheld.
Behemoth.
Behemoth.
5 warships, including 2 64,000-ton behemoths.
Behemoth.
A trade behemoth that shipped abroad $800 billion worth of goods.
Behest.
Behest.
The committee was set up at the behest of the President.
Behind. Behind.
I turned to speak to the person standing behind me. Someone could easily creep up behind us.
The car behind was hooting impatiently.
Jane shut the door behind her.
The manager was sitting behind a large desk. The manager was sitting behind a large desk. He set off down the road with the rest of us following close behind.
Mark's always behind the rest of his class in mathematics.
This victory lifts Ferguson's team into 5th place, 9 points behind leaders Norwich.
Europe was falling behind in the important field of computer technology. Europe was falling behind in the important field of computer technology. This work should have been finished yesterday. I'm getting terribly behind.
Victor had fallen behind with his mortgage payments after losing his job.
An important research project that is already 2 years behind schedule. I wonder what's behind this change of plan.
Perhaps a bitter experience lay behind her anger.
The workers are very much behind these proposals.
I suppose I'm lucky because my parents were behind me all the way.
It was alleged that foreign agents were behind the recent violence.
The Rotary Club is behind the fundraising for the new hospital.
Now you can put all these worries behind you.
A chance to start a new life and leave all your troubles behind.
Marjorie is one of the top designers in the business, with years of experience behind her.
We were determined to find the truth behind this mystery.
You could see the burning hatred behind Graham's calm manner.
Behind.
Behold.
Behold.
The beauty of the garden was a pleasure to behold.
Beholden.
Beholden.
Behove.
Behove.
Beige.
Beige.
Being.
Being.
A law that first came into being in 1912.
A human being.
A story about alien beings who invade Earth.
The whole of her being had been taken over by a desire to return to her homeland.
Being a quiet sort of person, I didn't want to get involved.
You can't expect them to sit still for that long, children being what they are.
You might as well drink it, being as you've paid for it.
Bejeweled.
Bejeweled.
Bejeweled hands.
Belabor.
Belabor.
Belated.
Belated.
A belated attempt to increase support.
The statement was a belated acknowledgement that the project had not been a success.
A belated birthday present.
Belay.
Belay.
Belch.
Belch.
A line of chimneys belching out smoke.
Flames belch from the wreckage.
Beleaguered.
Beleaguered.
The country's beleaguered steel industry.
Supplies are being brought into the beleaguered city.
Belfry.
Belfry.
Belgian.
Belgian.
Belie.
Belie.
Her pleasant manner belied her true character.
His cheerful smile belied his words.
Belief.
Belief.
A strong belief in God. Her sincere belief that her brother was not the murderer.
Thieves broke into the building in the mistaken belief that there was expensive computer equipment inside.
If you're selling, you have to have genuine belief in the product.
When you get something wrong, it can shake your belief in yourself.
Religious beliefs.
Several members hold very right-wing beliefs.
Religious beliefs.
Several members hold very right-wing beliefs.
What she did was stupid beyond belief.
Believable.
Believable.
A story with believable characters in it.
That scenario is entirely believable.
Believe.
Believe.
You shouldn't believe everything you read.
I believed him, even though his story sounded unlikely.
I don't believe he's only 25.
I don't believe a word of it.
Detectives believe that the victim knew his killer.
It is believed that the house was built in 1735.
Have they arrived yet? Yes, I believe so.
At 115, Mrs. Jackson is believed to be the oldest person in the country. The 4 men are widely believed to have been killed by their captors.
Did you honestly believe that I'd be stupid enough to do that? I firmly believe that the business will be a success.
Sometimes it's hard to believe we've been married for 50 years.
Believer.
Believer.
I'm a great believer in regular exercise.
Belisha Beacon.
Belisha Beacon.
Belittle.
Belittle.
He tends to belittle her efforts.
Bell.
Bell.
He rang the bell and waited for someone to answer the door.
She pressed the bell for the nurse.
The bell went and everyone rushed out of the classroom. Church bells.
I must give Vicky a bell later.
The bell of a flower.
Belladonna.
Belladonna.
Bell-bottoms.
Bell-bottoms.
Bellboy.
Bellboy.
Bell.
Bell.
Bellhop.
Bellhop.
Bellicose.
Bellicose.
Bellicose criticism.
Belligerent.
Belligerent.
A belligerent attitude.
Bellow.
Bellow.
That's your problem, bellowed Hurley.
Tony was bellowing orders.
His voice rose to a bellow.
Alex gave another bellow of laughter.
Bell pepper.
Bell pepper.
Bell ringer.
Bell ringer.
Belly.
Belly.
A full belly. She was lying on her belly. The belly of a plane.
Bellyache.
Bellyache.
She never stops belly aching about money.
Belly button.
Belly button.
Belly dance.
Belly dance.
Belly flop.
Belly flop.
Bellyful.
Belly full.
Belly laugh.
Belly laugh.
Belong.
Belly laugh.
Belong.
Belong.
Put the chair back where it belongs.
An attitude that doesn't belong in modern society.
I worked there for 5 years, but never really felt I belonged.
It's important to have a sense of belonging.
The book belongs to Dan.
Who does this scarf belong to?
He belongs to the golf club.
Cars that belong to a different era. She recognized the voice as belonging to the man who had attacked her.
All the acts were good, but the evening belonged to a dance group from Moscow.
Belongings.
Belongings.
An insurance policy that covers your personal belongings.
Beloved.
Beloved.
He never recovered from the death of his beloved daughter. He's always talking about his beloved computer.
A book beloved of children everywhere.
Below.
Below.
An animal that lives below ground.
Water was dripping onto the floor below.
I could hear voices in the courtyard below my window.
They camped a few hundred feet below the summit.
Down below, people were talking and laughing.
Somewhere far below, a door slammed.
The kitchen is directly below her bedroom.
Captain Parker went below, leaving Clooney in charge.
No one below the level of senior manager was present at the meeting.
Officers of the rank of captain and below.
Test scores below 50 were classed as unsatisfactory.
In June, the rate of inflation fell below 3%.
Tom's spelling is well below average.
In winter, temperatures dipped to 40 degrees below freezing.
Free travel for children 4 years old and below.
Details of courses are listed below.
For more information, see below.
Belt.
Belt.
He unbuckled his leather belt.
America's farming belt.
The green belt.
That was a bit below the belt, Paul.
The comments hit below the belt.
A secretary with several years' experience under her belt. Dan belted the ball towards the goal.
We were belting down the motorway at 95 miles per hour.
Maria belted her raincoat firmly.
A dress belted loosely at the waist.
She was belting out old Broadway favourites.